I'm not sure how much of this you'll be able to see. Getting a camera angle is not easy for me. It's a thou indicator, and I've cleaned up the base, stoned it off, and for all intents and purposes from there to there I get nothing, no deviation. Same there. So for all intents and purposes the only deviation is the depth of the scrape, which is under half a thou. I'm back to 0, so I've got 0, 0, 0, 0, fine with that. What I found when I initially tested it in an earlier episode, if I stick the needle up here and press on one of these sides, I get a movement, and it's because the base is not it's not flat all over, and there's enough distortion in it for me to rock it. But given that it's clamped down in these two places and the same on the other side, that distortion should move. So I'm calling this section good. So the next bit is to check the swivel base. So I've stoned it off. You can see it's had quite a few blunt traumas. There's all sorts of shit got clamped in there over the years. A lot of evidence of chips. Anyway, I've stoned it off. I'm going to put it down. Some shit under there. So what I want to do now is set the needle up on it and then just go around and push down. That's obviously the mating face for the underside of that. If this rocks, then that'll rock even or be distorted. So what I'm looking for is getting an even measurement all the way around on both surfaces and no rocking. I'll bring you back when I got set up. Well, as I suspected, it ain't exactly flat. So I'm set up as near as damn it with 0 down there. So every major division, which is a line, is a thou. So I call that 45 degrees, that's alright. Got a thou out at 90 degrees. Thou out at half of 90 plus 90. And at 180 degrees, yeah, we are 1, 2, 2.5 thou out. Two thou. One and 3/4. One. And back to 0. So it's high in this area. If I then rock it, there's something it's sitting on, which is throwing it out half a thou. Doesn't seem to be shifting the other way. So I'm going to do a bit of work and get that flat first, scraping it. So I'll get a rough pass over first off, and then blow up the table and do a print and see what's afoot. I love that sketch from Monty Python. What's afoot? It's a funny shaped lingle on the end of your leg. Right, we'll see if it still shakes and rattles. Well, it's still shaking and rattling, so I'm going to blue it up. I think this area here is a little bit raised, but, or if you like the opposite, that corner's a little bit low. We'll find out when we blue it. Bring it back. Shows up pretty easy, doesn't it? So we'll work them down and bring it back. There's a bit of blunt trauma gone on there. These are lines where the original T-slots went on the box it was clamped down to. Anyway, so we'll see how we go. We're on, that's the 5th roughing cycle. We're still getting a heavy along where the original witness marks of the T-slots were, but it is gripping all the way around now. Bit of a high spot there I'm going to take down. I'm just hitting the blues, as you can tell by the scrape lines. I'm not taking any particular care, just getting it down. The reason I'm rotating the part is it's easier than me moving around. If you've not already watched it, have a look on the subscribers list for my channel. Find a guy called Wes Johnson and have a look at his scraping videos. He's a bit better than I am by a long shot. His roughing scraping is certainly worth watching. I think he's been doing it a fair while. I guess the only similarity between the two of us is neither of us used canode. Me because I can't get it, and him because he draws some comparisons worth a look through. Ouch. Right. Before we do much more, we'll have to do something to chock it a bit better. Can't get that much pressure through with it bouncing around. Just to show you, that's a 3-inch scale, so what are the marks? Well, a slight technical hitch at the end of the last sequence. The battery ran out or something. Anyway, we recharged. I finished the following cycle, and that's where we're at. So that's, I think, 7 cycles now. I'm happy that I've got pretty good coverage all over. So I'm going to switch, and now I just take a finishing pass over it one way and then go back over it the other way. Take a print and then flip it over and check the measurements. I don't know how much of that you can see with my massive head in the way. Oh, massive head in the way, bopping the camera. I need to get my Connolly book out and just find out how he recommends going around orifices, because there's a technique for it. I'll be honest, I haven't read it. I'll skip that bit because I haven't needed to dig around any. Not that it matters on vice base at the end of the day. Now, I'm not expecting too much of a difference between that, the print I get off this versus the one I've just had, because I've just done an all over pass, not a targeted one. So that's the print. So we've probably got the heaviest area up there, not a lot down there, but it's showing ink everywhere and there's no rock left. So I'm going to have a think now what to do. Probably just knock them blues off now, try and get a bit more ink over it, and then I think we're good to go. So that's the print off the second finishing pass, and I've gone around the areas where there's a bit of a hollow of any significance. I'm not entirely sure it warrants doing much more to it. I mean, given that there's plenty of support around each of the mounting points and the middle's not sat up, I'm alright with that. So I'll give it another pass over, leaving the hollows untouched, and Bob will be my uncle. Right, I've checked the base and there's no rock left on it, which is what I would expect given I've flattened it. There is though variation around the ring, but that variation is as much as you go out on radius as it is one side to the other. So I thought what I'd do is stick the vice body onto it and then measure that height, rotate through 90 degrees and measure the same height, and I'm within half, plus or minus half a thou, which for all intents and purposes could be the bloody scrape marks, which is basically the same as I got when I've got the vice sat flat on the bed without the base on it. I can find there's some movement on it. If I stick the dial DTI on that end on 0 and then press where the two mount holes are, I can get half a thou, but I can get it in each direction depending on which hole I got, and I think that was the distortion on this bottom of the casting. So I am reluctant to do much more. The only other job I could do on it would be to scrape these two mating faces in there, but as I say, because there's already, I don't know whether it's wear or the original machining, but there is already a distortion in there, but it's not affecting significantly the orientations that I'm likely to use. So for all intents and purposes, that would be the vice sat on the box under normal running with the cutting tool doing this, and then 90 degrees round I get the same measurements. I'm going to do a few incremental degrees, but I don't expect that to change, because if it was, it'd have to be going up and down, and there doesn't show to be any of that on the bottom of this, so that can't be out either, with my understanding of geometry. So that's about it. Can't really show you much because it's I can't see the needle so well on the, try and zoom into your DTI. Yeah, you can't read it, but you can see the needle move. Or not, as the case may be. And then if I whip it over here, shift that round to its 90 degree mark, and I'll just knock the DTI. So we're a thou under there. And we're a thou under there. Not that you can see that. We'll try and do some panning. So we're a thou under. And a thou under. Take it round and do. I'll just want. What's that, 60 degrees or something? Now I have just thumped the needle with my wrist, so if you take that as 0, and again, yeah, there we got there 2 thou. I don't know, I'm inclined at this stage to leave it and put it together, and if it starts creating me machining issues, I can scrape those two faces. I thought I'd take a better look at the base and see where the dimensions are coming. So what's written on there are the readings, with here being at 0, 0, front to back, and then I've got half a thou dip on this area of this ring, and it seems to be plus or minus half a thou until I get around to that corner, and that's giving me down to actually -3 thou. But you can see the variation as it moves in towards the centre. So there's obviously a bit of variation because of the way the way it's been machined. I don't think it's wear, because I can still feel it's been turned, I think, and I can still feel all the turning grooves. And I know that the right thing to do is to bring it all down to flat. That fit on the top half is a couple of thou. So if I tilt that, or if you like, if that stays as the lowest point and everything else tilts back, it's going to shift that a touch. I think it will still fit, no problem. It's whether I can be asked to do it, to be honest. What I'm going to do is flip this over, sit it on these, and then take the same measurements and see if I can actually correlate it to how everything lines up when it's sitting on top. You have to excuse the background noise. Just cutting the next piece of stock for my next project. Now, I've got to do this handheld because I can't get both in shot. So that sits like that. So from 0, 0, 0 there, and we're low this area. So I'm 0, 0, 0 there, and I am high that area, matching with the low that area. There was one area, hang on. So I'm low on that point, but I'm 0 on that point. And on this bit, I'm sort of a half a thou up here and a thou down in that sort of area. I'm low on that. So that low and that low are, if you like, opposite sides, whereas that's high and that's low. So I think it could be just wear, but I think I'm going to go ahead and scrape it flat. I want to get this so when it's sat on its rails like that, I've got 0, 0 all the way around, which means I've got to come down pretty much. Well, this area is going to need a couple of thou off it, and this area is going to need what, 2.5 thou off it, that being the lowest point. And then I can use that then to print that, and I might just take the higher spots out with until I get it measuring right. I'm not really looking for massive contact areas, but I do want it all. I'm concerned that as it indexes round, it's going up and down, which is going to throw out my alignment. So before I start hacking away at any more cast iron, I thought I'd stick the vice onto the body, clamp it down. I've not murdered them up, they're just very lightly nipped, and it's showing up what I suspected. So I'll take you for a little ride with 0 at the vice head, and if I pan it down, you can see it's starting to rise. So that's at the extreme, and it's, call it 2.5 thou. And if I can get it around here. Possibly a 1/4 thou higher this side. back down to 0. So basically that end is sitting around about 2.5 thou higher than that end. Now I had anticipated that when the jaw is on and it's clamping under pressure, there should be some deflection in that bottom casting. I'm just trying to decide whether I can be asked to build it all up and then put a block in, clamp it. Yeah, I think we'll do that, and we'll just see, and we'll take a measurement either side and compare it with either end. So obviously we can't sweep because it's got the moving jaw on it. Bring it back in a mo. Right, so I think I've just about given myself a hernia humping that onto the granite table. I've got a piece of bronze clamped in it, and I've eaved it round to about the point where I think, yeah, that's about as tight as I'll make a vice. What we've got now, 0 there. And I'd say, what, 1/2 thou? Zero there. I mean, that's within, it's well within 1 thou. So I'm basically happy to call that done. I've nipped up the bolts that way. The only thing left me to do now is undo the rotation bolts, rotate the vice through 90 degrees and just see if that makes any difference, and then decide whether it's enough of a difference for me to do anything about. Bring it back in a mo. So that's with the vice rotated round so that the cutter would run up against the moving jaw, and without boring you, it was a bit of a fiddle getting it all in. I get 0, 0, and I'm within just over 1/2 thou, so call it 3/4 thou. So I'm happy to say that's done. So next job, strip it down, degrease it, paint it up. I've got to machine the faces of the jaws. I've got my fixings now. So yeah, other than a bit of cosmetic stuff, that's done. Hoorah! I'm a little disappointed. I wanted to clean up the faces of these because they're full of dinks and whatever. And basically everything I've read says that shape of vice jaws are kept soft. So I've pissed about, set them up, and spent an hour grinding up a nice tip, and first stroke it just crumbled the end off it. I thought, oh, so I reground it, put it through again, same thing again. I thought, oh, that's odd. So I went to a different high speed steel, same thing again, and then put a brazed carbide on, which has left a god awful finish, but it was nibbling away at it, but just not doing it acceptably. Anyway, I've stopped everything, run a file over it, and I think, well, you already know what's coming, but for the benefit of those without much imagination, they're hard, and not just a bit hard, they're very hard. So I've got to grind the bloody things, which is annoying. They're 9 1/4 inches wide, and my surface grinder will just about squeeze that, but it's bloody hard work, and I've got to take off about 25 thou. So that's going to be tomorrow's job, I think. It's bloody arm aching. It's going to take me a month or something just to dig it out. It's there at the back. So all of this lot in the foreground's got to get shifted out, sheet everything else up, and then dress the wheel, and away we go. Hey ho. Bit heavy. The left arm's about ready to fall off. It's not brilliant, but you know, there's a bit of what do they call it, scalloping or whatever, but it's cleaned out the crap. It was about a 15 thou depth of cut and about 3 thou step over. It's an old Herbert, English Herbert, I think it's mini or micro, or anyway. There is a subscriber, and I think I'll stick the link in below, but his channel is Workshop at the Bottom of My Garden, and he's been renovating a slightly earlier version of this. Mine's got the built-in oil sump on it. He's renovated it and scraped it back to good. I'd love to see him fire it up and get it running, because mine is woefully in need of a refurb. There's a lot of play on the table. Frustratingly, that's the original vice, and I think it's a 10-inch, and the surface grinder won't do 10 inches. With some, when it comes originally, I think it's a 7-inch by 3.5. I've done a bit of jiggery pokery and got it up to a 9.25 inch throw, but I've had to extend the table and make a separate handle which enables me to go all the way around. But because it's shorter, there's less leverage for me, so it's harder work. Getting a very developed left shoulder. Anyway, we'll clean it off and have a closer look at that. I think you can tell which one's been ground. So I'll take this one off and do the same. I mean, I can't feel any texture. I can see it, but for what it's doing, it's more than acceptable. I want to set the other one up, and I think I'll do that tomorrow because my arm's got arm aches now. There's less than 1,000 movement, which I'm happy with, because I think that indicator's that's about as accurate as it will read. It's going plus or minus 1,000 at most. And that's the vice put on. I put the new jaws, or the reground jaws on. Started some controversy on the Facebook, YouTube channel. You don't grind like that. No, probably not. Anyway, I made up some thick washers to sit under these nuts for clamping the base down, and the same for clamping these down, because the bottoms of the nuts were chewing up the casting. What else to tell? I'm quite happy with the way the vice has worked out. It's nice and smooth. I've cleaned up the top and the faces, inside and out of the jaws, using the aforementioned hideous grinding technique. And that face is within 1/2 parallel to the top of the plate and the motion of the ram, and then that's matched to that. Yeah, I won't say it's been without its traumas, but I'm quite glad it's done, because now I can get on with using it. There's a few minor things to fit, like I've got to fit that scale on, I've got to fit the pointer on that comes from the top down to it. I've still got to fit the guard over the pulley. I'm probably going to have to take the ram out, clean it all off, and assess the ways now. Once it's been running for a few hours, I could deal with that in due course, and then finish off the front support. For now, I'm going to make a larger foot on the end of that. Just it's supported now, and it's probably as good as it was, but I'd be happier if that end of that rod had a bigger foot on it. So yeah, tickety-boo. You got a selling that bolt turning lathe, which is a bit sad to see it go, because I've had a lot of fun with that, and but it's not been used for a couple of years. It's worth a good deal of money to me, and I want the space back now. So once that goes, I can shift my cabinet across, position the shaper so I can get at it all, then fit the rear guard, and then get on with the next project. What a gorgeous morning. Here she comes. You like a bit of snow, don't you, Sky? Go on then. I think the worst places to be.